Welcome back, guys. So today we are going to look at a Kubernetes question where something is given to us and it is broken, and I will walk you through the steps that you can take to troubleshoot any Kubernetes issues. So first we have a YAML file, which is a web server, and you'll see it is of type deployment and it is named web server. So let's apply this with k apply minus f webserver.yaml. And now our deployment has been created. So I can clear the screen and do a k get pods. So it is in pending state for 8 seconds. So we will wait for a few more seconds to check if it is coming up or not. So if I do a k get pods again, it's been 20 seconds and sometimes it takes time for the pod to come up. But clearly this is some kind of issue because it is not saying that it is container creating. So we can wait for 60 seconds, but it seems like this is broken. And when a pod is not working, the first thing we can do is check the logs. Now, if I try to check the logs of this particular pod, it is not going to give anything to us. And the reason we can't see any logs is because it is in a pending state. You see the logs when the container comes up and it has errors. But when the container is not even up, we cannot see the logs because nothing has been deployed to see the logs of the thing that has been deployed. So since there has been no successful deployment, we cannot see the logs. So in this case, our next best option is to describe this pod. So if I do a describe pod, since we have one pod, we can just do a k describe pod without specifying the name of the pod, and it should give us the description. So here you can see it says that the status is pending, and if you come down here you will see the reason why it is pending. And the reason it is pending is because it is saying that there are 2 nodes available, but 0 of them can be used to schedule this pod. And the reason it cannot use any of the pods is because it is saying that 2 nodes didn't match the pod's node affinity selector. So one of the things that you should always remember while troubleshooting is the logs or the events is going to tell you exactly what is wrong. And in this case, it is telling us that the nodes that are available in this cluster did not match the pod's node affinity or node selector. So here you can see there's a node selector over here. If you don't want to look at, like, this is a very small deployment, so you can see it in one page, but oftentimes you will have like multiple containers and the description could get lengthy. And in that case, you can take the name of the pod and just grep -i for selector. And the -i is to ignore cases, so it can take this one. And here you can see node selectors, this type SSD, and this is from our events. If you're familiar with Kubernetes, we know that this is a label. So one way we can do this is we can do a k get nodes, and then we can describe the node, which should be control plane, and try to find the labels for this node over here at the beginning. Or the second way we can do is we'll have to do it again for the node 01. This is kind of time consuming because you have to describe each and every node and try to do this. There's a quicker way to do this. We can try to do a k get nodes. It will show the nodes. If you do a -o wide, it is going to give us the IP addresses, but it is not going to give us the labels. Just so you guys know, -o is for output and wide is for giving us all the details about the IP and the OS image. But if we want to look at labels, there's a separate command called show label, which will show us the labels of every pod. And if we grep -i for SSD, you won't find anything because no node has that label. And because the node does not has that label, when I do k get nodes and k get pods, this pod is unable to schedule on any node because no node has that label that this pod wants. So if I do a -- show labels on the pod, here you can see it has an app web writing. Oh, we don't have to look at the labels of the pods because the labels of the pod is different than the node selector. So if I do a k describe pod, the labels of the pod is here. So we are telling that the pod has these labels, but we are specifically telling the scheduler that it should run on a particular node that has this label. Now we troubleshooted what the issue is. How will we fix this issue? One way to fix this issue is do a vim on web server, and you can comment out the node selector part and save and quit. And now if I try to apply, let me show you the pods first. So it has been pending for 6 minutes. So if I apply this config again, it is going to reconfigure the deployment. And if I do a kget pods, you can see this is the old replica and it is starting a new replica, which is in a container creating state. If I get it again, you'll see it is still doing a container creating, so it's taking some time. So we'll just wait for a few more seconds. And if I do it now, you can see that it is running and it got rid of the previous replica, which wasn't working. So if I do a kget replicas, we don't have kget replicas because it is actually replica set. So this is the old one which got scaled down to 0, and the current one is this. And if we do a kget deployment, you will see the web server with 1 and 1. Now we looked at the part where we are commenting out this node selector, so it can get deployed on any node. So if I do a kget pods -o wide, it is going to say it deployed it on node 01. The other way we can solve this is let's delete the deployment right now. So if I do a web server.yaml, it's going to delete the deployment. And if I do a kget deploy, kget pods, there's nothing in here. One way to fix this is you actually label the node with whatever the pod wants. So if the pod wants a label on the node with disk type equal to SSD, we can do a vim, go back, and I'll press an X key. The X key will help me delete this without going into the insert mode. Insert mode is from I. Here you can see the insert mode. I can do an escape, and without going into insert mode, if you press X, it is going to delete it. So save and quit. And now if I want to get the labels of the node, here are the labels. Let me clear the screen. And to label a node, we will do klabel node -h for help, and you will see the options on how to label the pods or nodes. It's basically the same way you will label a pod. You can label the node as well. So here you can see klabel, and then you put the node, the name of the node, and the key value pair is with an equal to. So one of the things that we should always remember is when we do a web server, since the disk type is :SSD, we cannot use this to label node 01. It is going to give me an error saying that at least one label update is required. The way to label this is like this. So now we have the label, and if I do the show labels again, in node 01, you can see disk type equal to SSD is the label. Now if I apply our web server file, it's going to create it, and right now it's running within like 4 seconds. So it found the node because we applied this particular label in it. Now one way to remove the label is, actually let me show you the man. So if I do a klabel node -h, okay, I don't see how to unlabel the node, but the way you can do it is node 01, the label that we put is disk type equal to SSD. If you remove the value and instead of equal to, you put a hyphen, it will unlabel the node. So remember, if I label it again as SSD, you cannot put the hyphen at the end of the value because it will say that it is invalid value because it is trying to put this as the label. So to remove the label, you have to put it after the key and it will unlabel it. But one thing that you need to know is the pod that is running will continue running on it until we delete it. So if I delete the pod, the current deployment has that label NodeSelector. So if we delete it, it's going to go away. And if I do a kget deploy, this pod is not going to come up now because we unlabeled the node over here. And just to show you, I label it again. And once I label it, it is going to find the node and it is going to start running the web server. But I hope this troubleshooting exercise was helpful. At first, it seems like a lot, but once you get used to it, it's quite easy. It's again practice, practice, practice. I'll go over more examples like this and I'll try to keep it short. But that is it for this video, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.